Hello everyone and welcome to the Eat, Burn, Sleep podcast. I'm your host, Yalda Alawi, the founder of the Eat, Burn, Sleep protocol and app, a gut health and anti-inflammation platform which has helped thousands of people around the world reach optimal health levels physically and mentally. In this podcast, I invite various individuals with expertise to share to help you further educate yourself on wellness, physical and mental health. All aspects of health are connected, and I aim to educate you and teach you to tune into your body to become the best version of you inside and out. I hope you enjoy this podcast. Make sure to subscribe and rate it, share it with your friends, and most importantly, keep happy and healthy. Keep listening. I will be sharing a discount code with you at the end of this podcast for the Eat, Burn, Sleep platform memberships. Hello everyone. Welcome back to the Eat, Burn, Sleep podcast. Today I have a really special guest. I have Sarah Bradden in front of me, who's the founder of the Bradden method. She's a super facialist and probably the best acupuncturist I have ever met. Thank you, Sarah, for being here.
Thank you for having me. That's such an amazing introduction.
Sarah is an amazing acupuncturist, amazing facialist. She has a presence in London, in Soho House, in Six Senses hotels, and she's a very accomplished woman. But I'd like to share a little story with you. I'd like to tell you how I discovered her and what I discovered after seeing her for the first time. So some of you might know I'm a complete skin care junkie, I would say, or rather skin obsessed. I'm half Moroccan, and in Morocco we have a tradition of hammam every week, of scrubbing your skin, of oiling your skin. So since I was a child, it was a weekly ritual to look after my skin and my hair. There was always argan oil around, almond oil, all these oils around us, and we just use them all the time. And from a very young age, when I was at university, I would spend money on good quality beauty products. My mom really instilled that in me. So I was looking for a new facialist in London. I had been with the same facialist for a long time, and I felt that I wanted to try something new. So I asked a friend of mine for recommendations, and she recommended Sarah. Of course, I look her up on Google, and she's basically this incredible facialist, and I don't know how I haven't heard about her before, and incredibly hard to book. I feel very lucky when I get an appointment. And in the meantime, a mini tragedy happened in my life. I had a middle ear infection, which I did not really notice, or rather ignored. The bacteria traveled to my brain, and I suffered from bacterial meningitis. As some of you may know, bacterial meningitis can be a fatal condition, and afterwards you can have so many side effects. I had a few, and when I went to see Sarah, I thought, this is amazing. I've just gone through something really hard. I'm going to have a nice, relaxing facial. Unknowingly to me, she was going to actually fix all my outstanding symptoms from meningitis. You did, Sarah.
Wow, I'm so pleased that it helped.
It was incredible. I had all these incredible tension headaches because of the pain of meningitis. I had tight muscles on my face, head, everywhere. I had funny ear symptoms. And I saw you the first time I discovered this incredible facial that you give, where we are so relaxed. The things Sarah uses, what's the bed that you use?
So the bed is EMF technology. So my bed in particular is PEMF technology. So it works on your electric magnetic field. It's also amethyst crystal. So it's sort of three therapies combined into one. So the amethyst crystal, the PEMF, and also then the infrared. So you have this, the bed as a standalone treatment is pretty powerful as it is. So the mat works on your electric magnetic field, which basically means it mimics your own healing frequency. So good for reducing inflammation, detoxification of the body, boosting the oxygenation of the blood, the cells, really good for grounding. In fact, the people who actually came up with the technology for the mat said, just think of it as like the iPhone charger, but for the human body. So I was a bit like, well, actually every household should be having this kind of therapy in their home, because actually we all need this kind of restoring, even recovery from, from such things as meningitis, but also recovering from our day, or whether that's been at school or whatever it is. So it's a really powerful piece of kit.
That's exactly what I was thinking as you were talking, because indeed, when I arrived and you asked me to lie down, just that I felt a shift in my energy that was immediate. And I hadn't realized quite how powerful the bed is.
Yeah. And it's really subtle. So because you don't feel any vibration, it's not like that. There's nothing. You can feel some heat because because of the infrared, so it's on a temperature gauge, but you don't really feel that change, what's going on with the cellular activity in the body, because it is so subtle. But you can sense something.
Yeah, I relaxed instantly.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful.
And then you used all these needles, and all the tension started going away, but the beauty of it was it lasted afterwards. So when people ask me, how did you recover from the after effects of meningitis? I always say acupuncture. So I went in for a facial and I realized that actually the glow that I got from from this treatment was an inside out glow.
Yeah.
So tell us more. How did you how did you come up with this incredible magic?
I got into the Bradden method came about because of my own ill health. So, very similar to your story, really. I was very poorly after a very long, disastrous relationship. It was very toxic, but I became very ill from it. And so I was a single parent with two children. We'd lost everything. So, stress levels were really high. Plus the previous stress from the relationship really took its toll. And they didn't know what was wrong with me. I was in and out of hospital for about, I would say, a good 5-6 years, having multiple tests. One minute they thought I had bowel cancer, then they thought it was Crohn's, then they thought it was diverticulitis. Basically, they had no idea. But as a 30-year-old woman, even though they weren't really that sure, although they said, we think it's diverticulitis, they still wanted to remove part of my intestine. And I thought, well, you're just guessing here. I knew it was wrong, so I didn't rush into any decision. But also, I probably just go back a few years before this. I've been a Reiki master since about the age of 22. So I knew very much within myself that the body has amazing capabilities to do what it can do when given the right tools or given the right opportunity, when taken out of a certain situation that's not causing inflammation. But I'd lost myself in and amongst this, what had happened through those years of high stress. And when they gave me this option of removing the half of my intestine, I was like, this just doesn't feel right. So I went to see an acupuncturist, and it was like somebody had flicked a switch on my body, like saying, this is how we're going to heal. Although, of course, it was one session. I wasn't healed in one session, but it was like it put me back in my body. It was like, what am I doing? I know I don't have to do all of this. I know why I've been ill. It's been in years in a very toxic situation, very high stress. So I stayed with the acupuncturist, and bearing in this mind, I was like 5.5 stone. My face was full of abscesses, cystic acne, like I looked pretty shocking. So we started working with the acupuncture from a cosmetic side, but also from the inside out, outside in, because I needed to also help with any scarring, reducing what was actually going on the surface of the skin as well. So after my healing continued, and when sort of coming to the end of that journey, I thought, I want to know more. I want to know how I can continue this, because I was just so bowled over by actually how transformative my life had changed from a physical, mental and spiritual point of view. So I went back and retrained. And so everything that I brought into the Bradden method is literally everything that brought me back to life, and literally brought me back to life. Also, I mean, obviously things over the last few years have evolved slightly with, I now include a lot more high-tech wellness, which we've just spoken about that bed. But, the Reiki, I went to see a Reiki healer when I was going through a lot of the trauma stuff. But the acupuncture, the cosmetic acupuncture, the light therapy, I mean, it was so transformative and it was life-changing. And I think that's why I'm so passionate in what I do, because I can speak from the horse's mouth of just how you can be so ill and my skin just be, I mean, I can probably share some photos like later and we'll send them over to you, but it was, I definitely don't look like what I look like now. I was very poorly.
What an inspiring story. Amazing. And I remember the first time we met, you had looked at my work on Instagram and you said to me, you walk the walk.
Yeah.
You said that to me, but you do as well.
Yes. Yeah.
You do as well. So you can completely empathize with anyone coming to you because you understand how it feels to be at a place where you feel like you're in a cul-de-sac. There's no exit. But the most interesting thing that you've just said that I would love our listeners to keep in mind is the body is wired for healing.
Totally.
And just like you, I have discovered through my own experience. And whenever I interact with members of the platform or people that I coach personally, I love to remind them this. It's like a plant that's just waiting for the right soil, the right weather conditions, the right hydration to thrive.
We are effectively plants, really. I mean, we need some daylight, we need good daylight, we need some water, and we need good soil. So our nutrition.
And kindness. Plants love
kindness.
Good words.
Yeah. And totally.
So I didn't realize you were a Reiki master before. That's so amazing.
Yeah.
That's why you have such, Sarah is a real healer. If you have the chance to go to one of her treatments, you've got to try it. So how did you discover the amazing bed, the light therapy? How did you implement these things in your practice and in your method?
So you mean the Reiki as well, or just the high-tech wellness?
No, all the high-tech wellness. How did you integrate that? How do you mix it?
Yeah.
Because obviously when I come, I enjoy all of it, but I'd like to understand how you've layered it and how mentally you thought this with that will tie in well. And
so the light therapy, all the high-tech wellness that I sort of include, and I use the activated oxygen as well, which remember it looks like an odd Frankenstein machine. Everything seems to complement one another. So, for example, the light therapy, when working with the acupuncture, it's almost like they supercharge one another. So the lights seem to charge the needles work much better, so we can get a much deeper level of healing. And the same goes for the mat. Obviously, the crystal is such a powerful thing as a natural base for you to even be laying on especially when doing something like Reiki. When I work with amethyst crystal, my hands literally feel like that they're so hot because it almost activates that healing. It makes it more intense. I guess it can dial up the thermostat on the healing. And the infrared, because one thing that I noticed when I was trying to heal myself at that time was to try and fit all the appointments in. Okay, so I'm going for the acupuncture here. I've got to see my Reiki master here. I'm going for light therapy over here. I'm doing, I'm going to have some oxygen there. I'm like, and as a single working mum of 2 young children, it was like, well, you don't get much free time, right? So when I was then creating the method, I was like, why can't I just put all of this together? What works, what complements each other? And of course, you try and test some of these things, but ultimately, the ones that really are the high-tech wellness that really trigger your own body's healing mechanism, switching on, like what you're saying, the body, we all have that capability within ourselves. So working with that real high-tech wellness, not the gimmicks. There's so many gimmicks out there, but the ones that really hone in on cellular health. It just makes sense for me to bring high-tech wellness into something so amazing like traditional Chinese medicine, like with acupuncture, because the acupuncture, it's just incredible, the achievements, what we can get with acupuncture. And also then bringing the high-tech wellness with them, even, as I said, as standalone treatments, work really effectively. Bring them all together, using them all in one space. For me, it's like you're dialing up the healing. Like for me, it just makes it, when I say intense, I don't mean it so then it's too much, but the body really responds really well.
I can confirm, and it doesn't feel like too much.
Yeah.
Just like you are really focused on inflammation, and any form of shock can be seen by the body as an inflammatory trigger. And every time I've come to you, even days where I was extremely tired or I could feel my vibration was low, I came out feeling good, but in a peaceful way. It wasn't in an abrasive or aggressive way.
Yeah.
So that's how I felt all these things working together. And I love listening to you explaining now how. But you know what's interesting about acupuncture? And this might sound a bit controversial, but I'm someone who's very sensitive to people's energy. Very sensitive. I've always been like this since a young child. And if I have acupuncture done by somebody who's vibrating a bit low or thinking a bit negative things, I absorb it. And even the place, if the energy of the place is not quite right, the healing doesn't work as well on me.
Yeah, I totally agree, 100%. I think anything like that, it's got to be the right space and the right therapist to work with you. And that's why it's important that you find the right person, because not everybody's going to be for everyone, and I think it's really important that you do feel that vibrational alignment with whoever you go and see, whether that's a talking therapist, an acupuncturist, going for, I don't know, a lymphatic massage or whatever it is. I think you need to feel in that vibration, because otherwise it won't work.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. I'm not going to name names, but I had this lovely acupuncturist, and at the beginning it worked wonders for me. I would literally fall asleep on that bed when she would put the needles in. Everything was amazing. And then unfortunately she lost the lease where she was, and the next place she found was in a building where you had finance companies like hedge funds in that building, and very male-driven finance/greed energy. It didn't work when I would go and see her in that building, because I guess the feng shui, the energy, the vibration was not the right one.
Yeah.
So I don't mind a finance energy. I used to work on a trading floor, but it's not the same
go for
energy.
A treatment.
That's right.
It's so
it's not
different.
A healing energy.
Yeah.
It's a very aggressive energy.
Yeah.
And so that didn't work, and I could never tell her, because I thought she's probably struggling to find the space. I'm not going to stress her out, but I could sense it.
Yeah.
I could sense it. And so unfortunately I stopped having positive results.
It's so true. And as a child, same as you, I was very sensitive, and I used to be able to pick up people's energies by smell, which used to hugely embarrass. Like my parents, my dad would be like, "Will you stop, Sarah, smelling the neighbours?" It was like, it was a real sort of thing. But obviously my skills have developed now, I don't just use smell. But so anything like that with me, sort of, it's really then important for me that wherever I go, that I feel that kind of peace, like that vibrational. It's just, as you know, it's just a feeling that you get, that you just know, you're like, okay, this will work here. Yeah. And thankfully, I think I believe most of my clients are happy.
I'm very happy. So do your clients experience the same thing as I did at the beginning? You come for a skin glow, and then you continue coming back, and the skin glow is just one of the many side effects of the treatment.
I think there is a real mix, actually. I think because if you look at my Instagram page, it looks very much that it's just about the aesthetics, because, there's lots of needles in faces, and it makes good photographs, and lots of people like to post the pictures of themselves with needles in. But, when people come in, I say to them, the aesthetics is a really important part of the treatment, but so is looking after the rest of the machinery, the mechanics, your body. So I then explain to them just what the treatment is. So I'll always include body acupuncture, facial acupuncture. I work a lot with the auricular therapy as well. I'm slightly obsessed with ears.
Yeah, so tell us more about that, actually.
So the ear is one of the most powerful microsystems. It's a bit like the reflexology map of the foot. You have all the body parts, everything, same as you would on the feet, but it's in the ear. So there's like over 220 points in the ear, even down to each tooth. So like for dental work, like I work with some brilliant dentists, and we can be so specific, even down to a certain tooth, with working with the auricular acupuncture. Yeah.
What about all these piercings I've done to my ears? Have I just killed a few teeth?
Actually, the body's really good at rejecting things. So I get a lot of questions, what about all my piercings? Does that mean that I'm blocking something? Does that mean, there is different theories with different Chinese masters about this, but my theory is, if the body doesn't want it, how sometimes you go and get your ears pierced and it goes a bit septic and it just rejects it. So I think that for me, that's the way of the body saying, look, no piercing, just leave it. So the ears for me are like a direct line to the brain. So the ear's the keyboard, tap, 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 and then we can send the signals to the brain of them where it needs to go. So send in those neuropathway messages, whether we're talking about hormones, digestion, whatever it is. So that's my obsession with the ears. So I never leave the ears out. The ears are a really important part of the treatment for me.
How amazing. Yes, because I remember that you've put a lot of needles in my ears every time I've come to see you.
Yeah, and actually the ear ones are probably slightly more sensitive. I find them a little bit more intense, but they are, when you use that then combined with the other points as well, again, for me, it's about never overstimulating, but trying to get the results in the best time for the client, because people want results. One thing, we are pretty we're not very patient now these days with waiting, but also I want somebody to feel comfort and to feel much better when they leave me. So I like to be able to trick the body into healing in the best way, but never a short fix, never a quick fix. This is about longevity. This is about long-term wellness, but in the short term, making somebody feel much better along the way. So it's always the facial acupuncture, the auricular body acupuncture, laying on the mat. Yeah. So working with the other high-tech wellness, activated oxygen, the LED lights over the face. And the LED lights over the face, again, because of the lights that I use, they work with the brain function. So again, everything is always about not just from the outside in. So LED, lots of people are just familiar with having it from a beauty perspective, when actually lights do so much more when they're working over the face, because you're activating the hypothalamus, the pituitary. There's lots of studies now that that show really some good stats behind the brain function with working with light therapy.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, light therapy is not new. I mean, it's just evolved so much better over the years, because, you know, back in the day, if your baby was born with jaundice, pop them under a light, you know, so thankfully we've just got amazing technology that's just evolved and has just really helped on so many levels.
How amazing. You know, I was just actually on my way here, I was on the phone with a girlfriend of mine, and I was telling her about, you know, this detox I've been doing for the past month, my own protocol, in fact. And I said to her, I said, you know, 2023 for me is the year where everything health takes priority over anything else. And I definitely, being a nutritionist and focusing on inflammation and all of that, I always said that investing in your health is actually your best investment, because your health is your most precious asset.
Yeah.
And if it starts depreciating, it can be difficult to get it back. The body is wired for healing, but we don't want to get to a point of diagnosis. But, you know, the game is changing globally. There is an increase in the cost of living, there is inflation, and we all have to think about how we want to spend our money.
Yeah.
And each person has different means, but I don't know how our listeners feel, and I would love to hear your comments, and please reach out to me to let me know. But I have decided I'd rather let go of things that I would have done maybe in the past, maybe parties and things like that, to prioritize feeling good. Because after having been on this detox for a month, I feel high on the feeling of feeling amazing.
Yeah.
I don't want to give it up.
Yeah.
I really don't want to give it up. So, you know, to all of you listening to us, if you're in London, definitely go and see Sarah. But if you're not, and you are in other places where Sarah is not necessarily present, Sarah, where do people can find your method?
So I'm based in Belgravia. I'm currently in Hershey's in Belgravia, but I do pop-ups in hotels and stuff. But I always post lots of stuff on my Instagram. So like there's lots of, because it's great coming in for a treatment, you know, and I encourage people, you know, to really, if they can, you know, have treatments to really help, not just to be, to get to the point of where you're suffering, you know, to use it as almost like an MOT. You know, we put our phones on charge every single night, but yet we forget to do the same with ourselves.
Absolutely.
So I think if you have the means, and I think treatments are a great way to help support, but we must also be doing things at home. So I always love to talk about the things that we can do at home, the same as you, like how we cook, how, you know, the things that we can do in the bath, how we massage, or just body tapping. So I think whilst I love people coming to see me, I always make sure that people go away with saying, okay, this is not just about you coming to see me in this session and then go off and, you know, go and party 7 days a week. Although, you know, I do like a tequila myself. I do like a tequila, but I know that my body, I can only do so much. So I'm never out to ruin anybody's lives, but I'm also really aware that it's really important that people start to understand. And like you've just said, once you start to feel the benefit, and you're thinking, oh my God, I feel amazing. I didn't feel so crap last week, or my hormones have been so much better, and my skin looks so much better. I don't actually want to go to the pub on the Friday after work. I don't want to spend all day drinking. I want to actually go out and do something. I want to go out and walk. So actually, once you've triggered, like what you've just said, once you've just triggered that feeling in the body, well, why, you don't want to let it go, do you? And then you have a couple of glasses of wine and the next day you're thinking, oh my God, I feel so rubbish. I feel so tired. I've got a hangover. All I want to do is eat rubbish and chips and, you know, all of this stuff. And then you realise, actually, is it, you know, don't get me wrong, parties are always good, but when you feel like that on the top of feeling so good, you're like, this is how I want to feel.
Yeah.
So you actually take charge of your own destiny. And like, I'm happy to go to parties and not drink, or go to a dinner party in the same way, because for me, I feel better. I'm a different person when I'm looking after myself. I'm happier.
I totally agree. So what kind of tips would you give people of things that they can do at home?
I think a big thing for me is body tapping and body movement. Okay. Also, you know, eating things like we would say, you know, hamburger and chips every night is not great. But body tapping, any kind of body movement. So one thing that I always find is that we hold energy in our body. So if you've come in from work, or even the children when they come in from school, you know, we can hold on to things. If you've had a bad day, or you're a bit tired, or you're a little bit stressed, just tap the body. Like even from the head, like massage the scalp, tap all the way down. Just don't let anything stagnant build up in your system. So whether you do that with your hands, or you get like a brush or some bamboo sticks, you can just tap. It's such a good way of changing the vibration in your body.
Oh my God, that's so interesting. It's true that
yeah,
energy gets stuck.
Yeah, it gets stuck in our cells.
That's such a good tip to do that every day.
Yeah. Or if you can get the kids on a rebounder or jumping, or yourselves like on a rebounder, anything that moves.
So interesting.
It's a really powerful, really effective way of really... Anything that increases that kind of microcirculation in the body has such profound effects on the whole system. Mentally, physically, you feel better.
I do body brushing, dry body brushing, and I feel completely different right after doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And just tapping, it's just like, it's amazing.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. It's a great one for the kids to do when they get from school as well.
Yeah, amazing. What I find, what I started doing in 2023 is be really mindful of my screen time. Because Instagram, TikTok have created this format which makes us addicted, and we can watch 50 of them and not remember a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the brain needs longer time to process and absorb information. So it's like fast food. You're overfed but undernourished.
Yeah.
So you're seeing all this content, but nothing goes in your brain. And in fact, that's why I'm reluctant to do reels on my Instagram. I do them because of the algorithm, but I think people can probably feel my heart and soul is not in them. But when I have a live, I love it because I know that I'm actually teaching people something. Yeah. Which I don't get the chance to do on Reels. So what I've noticed is I started wasting time. An hour on the phone. So I thought, okay, let's be smart. Put the phone in the kitchen to charge, go to the bathroom, run a bath with magnesium salts, brush your body, do a face mask, massage your head, do something productive for you, lie down on your bed, read a real book.
Yes.
And wellness doesn't have to be expensive. It's just a question of being mindful about what we're doing.
Yeah. I think the phones, the social media sites is such a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because you can have such great information on there. You know, I've learnt from so many different people and peers on there as well also, but you get sucked into this black hole where you end up scrolling, and that kind of downloading of that information is just, it's insane. You know, we become desensitized to things that, you know, it's toxic. And that we are in high alert all the time.
Yes.
And we were all wondering why we're slightly wired, or we don't sleep properly, or, you know, and people sleeping with their phones beside their bed and things like that, you know. But all these things now we're finally starting to learn a bit more about. But I'm with you, this year for me, I'm, you know, at night the phone is outside the room.
Yeah.
You know, I'm making a really conscious decision of just not being on it as much. I find it really difficult. I find you just get sucked into this.
That's the problem. So what I've done is, because what I would do is I would do a lot of work from my phone and then kind of mix it with work. So now I make a conscious effort. All my work is from my laptop. That's work time. Phone is, you know, to communicate with friends, family, things like that, and then put it away.
Yeah.
Post on Instagram, and obviously, and then put it away. But what I told my son, my eldest son is not too crazy about screens, but my youngest is, and I don't like the idea of banning them without explaining. So I said to him, I said, listen, what are you doing? Are you watching YouTube shorts? I said, you know what the problem is? It shrinks your brain. I said, your brain is growing right now. Give it books, give it an interesting documentary on TV, whatever you want to watch. You know, play with your brother, talk to me, bake a cake. That develops your brain. This is shrinking it.
Yeah. And is he okay with that, or does he
because he
resist?
No, he cares about being clever. He wants to be successful.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
so
good then. Yeah.
He knows he needs his brain, so he goes, okay, he puts it away.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, I'm sure some kids wouldn't be so, because there's such a thing at schools, aren't there, with, you know, them being on their phones and stuff. But I think, you know, technology's not going anywhere, is it? So I think it's about
managing it.
We have to embrace it, but we have to manage it, and also teaching the kids about communication, not just messaging their friends all the time.
Absolutely. And in fact, you know, so interesting, we're completely digressing here, but it's nice. What I tend to do with my friends is pick up the phone, have a nice conversation. Yeah.
This is all part of wellness, though, isn't it? I know you're saying we're digressing, but it's not. This is about connection, and connection, picking up the phone and talking to somebody, is good for our health.
Yeah, true.
You know, it's good, but communicating with your loved ones is good. Not just this WhatsApping messages, or, you know, sending a quick text. That connection, that human connection through the voice. Obviously, it's always better if you can meet in person, but, you know, we all live in a global world now that thankfully we can travel around again. But, you know, that is what we need. You know, that human connection is important, gives us happy cells. So actually, it's important for our health to do
so
this.
Important, and humor, nuances. There's so much that's lost in translation when you text, or some people, you know. So I'm quite direct, and sometimes I forgot to say hi. How are you? I'll just I go straight to the point, and I have to backtrack. I'm like, sorry, and good morning. How are you, by the way? When on the phone, I'm much warmer.
Yeah.
Much nicer.
Yeah.
I'm a much nicer person on the phone than on text.
I can see how it's done there, because you're thinking, you go straight into what that message is.
Exactly.
You know, email, you're a bit more aware of having to be a bit more thoughtful about what you're saying, don't you? Like, hi, so-and-so. Whereas on message, it's just literally like, it's like a Post-it note.
Exactly. So the bottom line is, small little things accumulated take us to a happy and healthier place.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a punishment. It doesn't have to deprive you. It's about being mindful of how we think, how we eat, the treatments we choose, how we choose to spend our money, how we choose to spend our time, our energy. It's a lifestyle. It's a 360 thing.
Yeah, I agree. It's never just about one thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, people I would say the last few years have obviously been more brutal for some people than others. So I think it's really important that people just take that time for whatever it is, just to make sure that, one, that they really connect with the right people. Okay, and you might have those people at work that you don't necessarily get on with, or there's nothing you can really do about that. But when you can, you just nurture yourself with the right kind of people, and make sure that you're fed from a really good source in the terms of friendship, that connection, because that also can have such a profound effect on our health and well-being.
Absolutely. The number one factor for longevity is social connections.
Yeah.
So good friends are the key to longevity.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So it's like it's that 360 thing. And I just think just being more aware. Put that phone down, speak to your friend, go for that walk in the park, have that bath, just even if you can only give yourself 15 minutes, make it your 15 minutes.
Absolutely. And the beauty about all these things is, before you know it, they become habits. So at the beginning, you're mindful about including these things in your life. Yeah. And then they're second nature. You're in autopilot and you're doing them.
Yeah.
So it takes 21 days to rewire habits. So it's just an effort at the beginning. And then it's part of your routine.
Yeah. I mean, you always want to go back to that default of whatever it was. But it's like, that's why I always like to get people in for a few sessions quite close together. So we really nail into the system of what we're trying to do. Because if we can work on that initial cell turnover cycle, the cellular memory is like so different. So it actually helps enormously for trying to, just stay on top of whatever we're treating, or to bring in the body back into homeostasis.
So
or whether you're even going for the facelift, whatever it is.
I have to do the facelift. I haven't. Thanks for the idea. Sarah, it's been such a pleasure having you.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been so lovely being sat here chatting. I think we could have carried on for a long time.
I know. So people can find you on Instagram.
Yes, at Sarah Bradden. And of course, if anybody has any questions, they can either message me or get in touch with you. And
I'm going to link your website. I'm going to link your Instagram, everything in the description box.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. And thank you to all of you for listening. Thank you for listening to the Eat, Burn, Sleep podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to share it and to subscribe. If you are ready to become the best version of you, use the code PODCAST15, PODCAST15 for 15% discount on the Eat, Burn, Sleep memberships. Available on eatburnsleep.com.